While I've never been formally diagnosed, my friends and brother are absolutely convinced that I have some form of autism. I'm the type of person who can pick up and learn something in an instant provided I actually want to do said thing. However, all I've used this autist superpower on is getting really good at PvP games minutes into playing them and then getting angry at them like an hour later. Yet somehow, this is not nearly as much of a waste of potential as RWBY's own Adam Taurus. Adam is a case that needs to be studied on how someone can be the most bong-water writer imaginable, screw up the easiest setup plotline ever, then convince your fans that it was good. Adam was my favorite character in RWBY. He's one of those dudes that look badass no matter where in the episode you pause. And to be honest, Miles and Carrie should be crucified for botching the guy with the best character design in the whole show. Yeah, he may have groomed Blake, but come on, look at him. I wouldn't be complaining if I was in Blake's shoes. Everyone and their mother has done a rewrite on Adam Taurus, so you know what? I thought I would as well. I kinda did it to a smaller degree in my Monochrome and Bumblebee videos, but I want to dedicate an entire video on showing just how easy it would have been to write a good antagonist. Before I get started though, I want to make something clear. In my last two videos of this, my goal was to just slightly change events to make my rewrite work while also keeping the same overall plot. Not this time though. In order to make my ideal hunky Adam a reality, I've got to start from scratch and completely revamp the world of Remnant. One really minor thing that annoys the hell out of me in RWBY is how all the nations are called kingdoms, even though by definition, not a single one is. They're all ruled by nameless council members instead of, a fucking king. There's the first major change here. The kingdoms are actual kingdoms, with the exception of Atlas, which will be more akin to an empire. Do you guys remember at the start of RWBY, there was constant mention of a war that happened, then it was never acknowledged again? Let's bring that back. Vale, Vacuo, and Mistral were fighting together in a war against Atlas. Think something like the Northern Realms versus Nilfgaard in The Witcher. The war ended because Atlas essentially had a monopoly on dust, making them too powerful to reckon with. After said war, Atlas expanded their dust operations to the rest of the world, making Remnant too dependent on them to actually fight back. By the way, I'm completely ditching maidens and the relics, because to keep it $150 with you, those are fucking stupid. Atlas would later build its own CCT tower and Huntsman Academy to stay connected to the rest of the world. But how are Faunus treated in this world, since that'll be the biggest factor in all of this? Each kingdom deals with Faunus in its own way. Vacuo mostly accepts them as they see strength being important above all. Vale completely bans them from entering the kingdom. I imagine something like the Khajiit from Skyrim, where they're just camped outside of the city walls. Of course, Atlas uses them for slave labor and doesn't even see them as people, made worse by the fact that Atlas basically won the war, so their influence on how Faunus were treated grew more around the world. In my version of Remnant, Mistral was once a nation entirely composed of Faunus. It was essentially their original home. However, a long time ago in Remnant's history, humans came around and conquered Mistral, making it their own, and the Faunus essentially became second-class citizens there. This will become important later, so keep that one in mind. Now we can get to the topic of the video and discuss Adam and his backstory. I figured I'll just do it now instead of later, so the stuff I say makes sense. Adam Taurus, as a child, lived in the Schnee Manor with his father, who was a servant to the Schnees. More specifically, he was a personal servant to Willow Schnee. I don't know what either of their canon ages are, so I'm just gonna say Winter and Adam are roughly the same age here, and that the two of them were childhood friends during this period. They were constantly playing together while Adam's father was working, and Winter, being the forward-thinking main/side character she is, doesn't have a problem with the fact that Adam is a Faunus, because she just likes hanging out with them. One day, though, both Adam and his father are forcibly taken from the manor without explanation and hauled off to a Schnee dust mine in the middle of nowhere, and are forced into slave labor. I could string along the why, but I'm just gonna tell you now. Adam is secretly a bastard Schnee child. Born from an affair between his father and Willow, the plan was to originally keep them around and hide the fact that Adam is a Schnee. They simply figured when he got older, he could just hide his eyes and be Winter's manservant or something. Things continued like that for a time until Willow decided it was time to cover the whole thing up and wipe her hands clean, so she's the one who had the two sent to the mines. It could have been Jacques, and it probably would have been in character, but I want it to be Willow because I like the idea of both of Weiss's parents being horrible people, just in different ways. Not too long after they're sent to the mines, Adam's father is killed for reasons that I didn't come up with. Adam from then on spends the rest of his childhood and early adulthood as a slave, until the other Faunus plan an escape from the mines and, of course, want Adam to come with them. They make their daring escape, but one by one they are all killed off except for Adam. He's briefly caught by a guard and in self-defense accidentally kills him. This is the first time Adam takes a life. Adam is the only one to escape, but at an immense cost. He's been traumatized from killing someone and is racked by survivor's guilt for being the only one to get away. Adam wanders the frozen forests of Solitos, completely lost, and right as he's about to succumb to the wilderness, Adam is saved by Gira Belladonna, who at this point is living in Mantle along with Blake and the MILF whose name I forgot. Mantle is 100 times more ghetto in this version because, to be honest, in RWBY proper, if you just put like a clear sky over the city, it would look like a really lovely town and not the home of the Brokies who couldn't make it in Atlas. Adam is temporarily taken in by the Belladonnas, and it's here I would give Adam his signature outfit, a gift from Gira from when he was younger and slimmer as well. Of course, it would be plain, and over time he would add on to it like in the character short. The Belladonnas aren't planning to stay in Mantle though, as they plan to travel to Anima, where a small community of faunus awaits them, and they want Adam to come along. With no reason to refuse, Adam joins them. I should mention at this point Adam is already wearing a blindfold to hide his eyes, not because they were branded this time, but because the Shnees have a very distinct eye color and he doesn't want people knowing he's related to them. At first, it would just be out of caution, and the wrong person finding out could have him killed. Later, though, it becomes his biggest source of shame, being related to the biggest oppressors of his race. This community in Anima would become Adam's new home for a while. I imagine this community is something like one of those oversized Mexican families where there's just a shit ton of them, and most are very loosely related, but they all treat each other like family regardless. It's very tight-knit, and it doesn't take Adam long for him to acclimate. During their stay on, like, the TV or something, there have been multiple news stories on a new terrorist organization called the White Fang that's been causing problems all over Remnant. Adam admonishes them at first, believing that violence isn't the answer to solve their oppression. Adam isn't a pacifist, though. In fact, in order to protect this place he's called home, he decides to learn and fight to defend himself. Obviously, a Huntsman Academy wouldn't do because his horns are pretty damn obvious, so he seeks an alternative. Throughout his life, Adam has heard whisperings of a secret clan of warriors who could go toe-to-toe with Huntsmen and not only live, but win as well. This clan would be what we know as the Bronwyn tribe. Was anybody else disappointed when Volume 5 came around and all the Bronwyn tribe ended up being was a generic bandit group with a leader who stuck out like a sore thumb and didn't look anything like a bandit? In my new RWBY, the Bronwyn tribe is closer to something like the Assassins from Assassin's Creed, a secret group of ninja-like figures who are fighting their own secret wars. He proves himself to enter as a sort of initiate and enters the clan. Over time, he catches the eye of the clan's leader, one Raven Bronwyn. I'm sure everyone and their mother saw that Adam and Raven have the exact same color scheme and grim mask and thought there would be some connection there, only for the two to never interact. Fuck you, Miles and Carrie. I hope you get on an elevator and it just falls. In Minecraft. Raven personally trains Adam as her apprentice, and it's here I have a dilemma. Obviously, since Adam is a Shnee, he would have the Shnee family semblance, so how does Moonslice fit into this? Well, I was half tempted to just lampshade it and say he can just do that. He is him, as the kids say. But then I had the idea of Moonslice being an outside power that Adam learns from the Bronwyns. Magic in RWBY is all fucky-wucky, and they really shot themselves in the foot by saying magic isn't real, which makes doing fantastical shit harder to explain. So it's just an ancient technique few in the Bronwyn tribe clan are capable of wielding, and Raven, seeing great potential in Adam, takes a chance and teaches him the power of Moonslice, something that would bite her in the ass later on. In order to wield this power, he also needs a blade capable of handling its force. Raven would gift Adam the sword part of Wilton Blush. He would go on to make the gun sheath part later to make it more his own. It's also here Adam would get his iconic Grim mask. Everyone in the Bronwyn clan wears similar mask, and his is a sign of him being accepted as one of them. Adam returns to his home in Anima and decides to help the community by teaching the children and young adults self-defense so they can protect themselves. One of the students among them being our local cat girl, Blake, someone Adam would take a huge interest in. Not romantically, I'm not doing that this time around. Blake becomes Adam's most promising student, far exceeding the others, mainly due to her having a semblance. Because Blake is a close friend of his and an exceptional student, Adam goes out of his way to forge Gamble's shroud and give it to her because Blake always admired Wilton Blush and wanted something like it of her own. It could be like a birthday present or something, I'll leave it to you to decide. As a sign of true friendship, Adam decides to let Blake in on the truth and reveal to her his Shinny eyes, something he hasn't shown anyone ever, even his friends back at the mines. Throughout all of this, Adam swore against killing anybody, and even makes Blake swear the same thing when he gives her Gamble Shroud. The guilt he felt when he killed the SDC guard was, and still is, too much for him to bear, and he doesn't want Blake to suffer the same thing. Adam has taken a lot of shit his whole life, but he refuses to break. He doesn't want to sink as low as humanity and become monsters like the White Fang. Time skip, time skip, time skip. Adam is away from the community one day for nondescript reasons. Upon his return, he's greeted with a horrifying sight. The SDC are here, burning the place to the ground. As stated, Atlas has expanded all over the world after the war, so it's natural for them to have influence even in the continent that Mistral has domain over. Everything Adam has been building up, the friends he's made, the memories he shares with them, all gone in an instant. The only ones to live are Blake and her hot mom, as they were also away at the time. I would kill Gira here as well, since I imagine him to be a father-like figure for Adam, and is there any better character motivation than a dead parent? Were this to be an actual fanfic or rewrite, I would actually give those characters names and personalities to make the scene impactful, but since this is just a rough outline, I can't be bothered. Finally, after taking non-stop abuse and putting up with it for his entire life, Adam finally snaps and kills every man and woman who set fire to the place, leaving no survivors. Blake only just arrives to see the aftermath. The young, naive girl believes that Adam did the right thing, that this was justice, but her mom sees it differently and forces Adam to leave while she cleans up the remnants. After his carnage, Adam leaves, wandering anima. Without a purpose, he doesn't know what to do with himself. Blake follows after him, of course, as she sees Adam as a hero and wants to follow in his footsteps. After days of wandering the road, the two stumble into a woman who witnessed Adam's massacre and wishes to extend to them an offer. This woman's name is Sienna Khan. Of course, simply asking them to join wouldn't work. Before all of this, Adam believed the White Fang to be maniacs, but this Sienna is more cunning and manipulative than the one we know. She sees how far Adam has fallen, how mentally exhausted he is, and is simply looking for a reason to continue going. She whispers sweet nothings into Adam's ear, telling him what he wants to hear. She says how she can give him purpose, how she can help him get back at the ones who wronged him, and all he has to do is serve her and her ambitions. Adam agrees. He's fallen for Sienna's spell, and over time comes to completely fall for Sienna and her vision. Not romantically, mind you. She gains complete control over Adam, and she didn't have to lift a finger. Adam believes that he would be nothing without Sienna, that she's his savior, and he owes everything to her. Adam Taurus far exceeds Sienna in strength. It's not even remotely close. He himself is also charismatic in his own way. He's able to rally Faunus to join Sienna's cause, but in reality, most of them joined for Adam, not Sienna. Were he to rebel and overthrow Sienna like he did in Volume 5, a lot of people would be perfectly chill with that. But he doesn't. More like he wouldn't, as he's dedicated mind and soul to Sienna. And now that Adam has joined her, Sienna now has the ultimate weapon to enact her goals. Oh, and of course Blake joined as well. Almost forgot about her. The three form a close inner circle, pretty much making them the three highest ranking in the White Fang. Why would Blake be there? Good old-fashioned nepotism, baby. Why isn't Elia here? Because screw Elia, that's why. I don't care if she's voiced by V Cyberpunk. I hate Elia. She sucks. That pretty much concludes his origin story and brings us to what would be present-day RWBY, where the events of this hypothetical show take place. The first thing to look at would of course be the Black trailer, since that's where we first see Blake and Adam. The only thing I would change about it is not having Blake desert at the end of the trailer. Save that for early in Volume 1. The Black trailer should give us a chance to see Adam's ruthlessness like the original trailer does, but it should also show us the bond between the two characters, this unspoken sort of trust they have. We can see Blake's hesitation to continue working for the White Fang, but her trust and belief in Adam is what's causing her to stay. Originally, Adam didn't make his first actual appearance until the literal end of Volume 2. I want to change that so he's present throughout the entire first volume, working closely with Roman in the White Fang cell there. He doesn't do anything major like fight our protagonists, but we see his strengths as a leader and his ability to rally the Faunus. Now, she may be the worst thing ever, but I am including Cinder in this story as well. RWBY, the show, desperately wants Cinder to be the main baddie even though we have Salem. So this time, I'm actually committing to the bit in making Cinder the big bad. Truth be told, I did really like early RWBY Cinder. She was a deceptive mastermind pulling the strings from the shadows. At least that's how I saw her. She whispers in the ears of our antagonists and leads our heroes into her traps and schemes, all for her grand plan that remains a mystery. Everything these huntresses have ever done, it's all part of her plan. She's such a rock star. Those are our main baddies. Roman, accompanied by Neo, who I've plans for in this rewrites, Cinderfall along with Sienna and Adam. Cinder twists Roman's arm into working with the White Fang, while also being the main benefactor that funds the White Fang in Sienna's war. Adam this whole time doesn't know of Cinder's existence. He has no reason to question where Sienna is getting all this money, as in his eyes, she can do no wrong. Our story with Team RWBY begins like normal. Ozpin recruits the young Ruby to join the Beacon early, and later we meet Yang and Weiss. During the beginning, we get a scene of Blake escaping from the White Fang. Adam isn't present yet, so it's just some soldiers chasing after her. Ruby wouldn't meet Blake at the slumber party like normal, and only meets her right before they enter the Emerald Forest. Originally, during the forest part, Yang and Blake found each other while Ruby and Weiss were partnered up at the start. I'm changing that though, so Ruby and Yang meet up because why the fuck wouldn't they? They're only siblings. Blake and Weiss meet up in the forest instead because this is also a monochrome rewrite, and I need the two to start interacting as soon as possible. You want to know why I like monochrome so much? I'll tell you now, it's not because of any reason like their contrasting backgrounds or any gay shit. It's because if the two were to get married, and Crow and Winter got married as well, that would technically make Blake and Weiss Ruby and Yang's aunts, and I think that's funny. Weiss, in Tom Jack's RWBY, is unbelievably racist. If the Faunas had a slur, she would be dropping them like no tomorrow. Now, I understand the problem of having a main character be a bigot, but there's this little remedy we like to call character development. While I do like the reveal we get of Blake being a Faunus, I want to introduce to the viewer earlier that Blake is one before Team RWBY, so we can understand Blake's frustration when Weiss rants about building a wall around Menagerie. Later on, after Team RWBY has formed and everything, the White Fang are introduced, and of course, Weiss starts to bring up how, despite Faunus making up 13% of the population, Blake explodes, accidentally letting it slip that she's a Faunus to her team, and then she hauls ass. Weiss is disgusted she's been rooming with a Faunus all this time and attempts to report it to the headmaster to get her expelled and maybe even deported if we're feeling extra. She doesn't get the chance, however, as Ruby and Yang stop her and convince her to help them look for Blake. With Sun, because I like him, Blake investigates the White Fang and why they're working with a human like Torchwick. During their espionage, they encounter a meeting between Roman and Adam Taurus. The two have become well acquainted and are moving forward with their plan involving Mistral. Blake doesn't manage to catch all of it, and she realizes she's in over her head now that Adam is here in Vale. She leaves, and we get our cool fight scene at the docks later. Weiss witnesses the whole fight and afterwards approaches Blake. She's decided she won't report her, but unless it is absolutely necessary for Team RWBY reasons, she will not talk to, look at, or interact with Blake in any capacity. Unfortunate, but at least her secret is safe for now. I'll be real, Volume 2 is great. Poggers, as the kids might even say. However, let's be real, it's mostly filler, and the show would mostly be the same should a lot of it be changed. Specifically for this rewrite, I want the relationship between Weiss and Blake to develop and turn Weiss from a turbo-racist into a less turbo-racist. Spending so much time near Blake has softened her up, and she goes from tolerating Blake to looking at her more objectively. Before she realizes it, she's looking at Blake a lot more than usual. How does the saying go? Never ask a white supremacist the skin color of his wife? Because it's not relevant to the story at all, unlike racism, homophobia doesn't exist in the world of Remnant. Jacques Schnee couldn't give a rat's ass if she dated girls, so long as said girl doesn't have a rat's ass. Look, I'm skipping a lot of the details, but I just need you to know that were this an actual thing, Volume 2 would be the Weiss and Blake volume. If you want an actual fanfic or AU, we're not getting that here. Unless, of course, you paid me, well then we can talk specifics. One major scene that would need to be included is Weiss seeing firsthand how Faunus are treated. Weiss, having lived in a turbo mansion her whole life away from the dregs of society, doesn't fully comprehend the prejudice the Faunus face. Some sort of scene that involves her witnessing firsthand how horribly they are treated so she can reflect on her actions toward Blake and truly begin to change herself. I have no specific scenario in mind, so I'll leave that to your imagination. Volume 2 would end with Weiss, surprisingly, asking Blake out, and Volume 3 would start with them already dating. There's a scene I would like to include during the festival arc involving the two. Blake, of course, was a revolutionary who wanted Faunus to be treated the same as humans, but despite that hid her own Faunus traits because those people aren't typically allowed to attend Huntsman's Academy, except maybe for Vacuo. Blake decides to stop hiding her true nature and be herself more, so she takes off the bow and gives it to Weiss to show her her commitment. Volume 3 is RWBY's best season, and it ain't even close, kiddo. However, I need changes to happen in order to realize my perfect vision. We do get our vital festival, but this time it's not in Vale. The festival is being held in Mistral, and our team gets to go on a field trip to another kingdom. One day, while exploring the new city, Blake is pulled away from the crowd by a mysterious figure who reveals himself to be Adam. Blake, being a part of Sienna's inner circle, means she has info on the Khan that would cause trouble were she to tell anyone, so Sienna has ordered her death and asks Adam to do it. Adam, of course, still cares for Blake a ton, so instead of killing her, he offers her a way out of Mistral and asks for Gamble's shroud as proof he killed her. Blake, being Blake, turns him down and tries to leave, but not before Adam warns her about what's coming and how they may have to face off against each other down the line. Blake acknowledges this and leaves. Neither want to fight each other, but now they have no choice. Fast forward to the Vital Festival, kill Penny or whatever, it's not really relevant. During the chaos of the attack on Mistral, Sienna and her army of White Fang members are storming the Mistral's castle. Her goal is to kill the king and declare herself the new queen of Mistral, returning it to the Faunus in the process. We also have Adam, who's locked in combat with the Belladonna girl, and she's getting her ass handed to her. Blake may have been trained by Adam, but he still far exceeds her in every aspect. Adam never wanted to kill Blake, but his dedication to Sienna far outweighs his familial love for Blake. Like Yang, but way cooler, no pun intended, Weiss shows up to try and protect Blake, and Adam finally shows his true motivations. Adam always did have the liberation of Faunus in the back of his mind. A world where he and his kind can live freely was always something to work towards. But that's not his mission. After the attack on his home in Mistral, Adam needed someone to blame, someone to focus his hatred at, and the only group he could think of was none other than the Schnee family. His own blood threw him out, sent him to the mines, and now their own soldiers torched his home. Everything bad that happened to him was because the Schnees are the ones in power, and if anyone was going to do something about them, it would be him. There's a scene about Adam's past I want to include, and the reason I didn't bring it up during the first part is because I didn't think of it till now. At some point before the current day events, Adam decides to take revenge against Willow for abandoning him. He breaks into the Schnee Manor with the plan to kill just her because she was the only one who really did anything wrong. Just before he kills her, though, Adam stops. Killing her would be too easy. She took everything from him, so it's only fair he does the same. He looks outside the window to see Weiss training in the courtyard and makes his "as I set out upon this world" speech to Willow, with the promise to kill the Schnee family, starting with Weiss. Adam cutting off Yang's arm is a cool idea, since not only is he crippling her, but also taking away her ability to fight since she uses her fists, making her feel powerless. It's a shame it meant jack diggity shit. With Weiss this time around, though, instead of crippling her physically, I want Adam to have a more mental effect on her. He overpowers her in a fight. Weiss never even gets a chance to try and retaliate. Before all this, Weiss thought she was hot shit, some kind of prodigy who could kick ass with ease. Adam does a lot more than just humble her. Halfway through getting her ass beat, she just loses all motivation to fight back and just starts taking it. Of course, in regular Volume 3 fashion, right before Adam kills her, Blake swoops in at the last minute and saves her, hauling ass from Adam, who chooses not to pursue, because even if he wanted to, he still needs to help Sienna take Mistral. Blake makes it to an SDC ship with an unconscious Weiss to try and save her, but the guards take Weiss and, very forcibly, shove Blake aside because a Faunus touching a Schnee? That's a big no-no. Then they leave, leaving Blake all alone, unaware of RWBY and Yang's whereabouts. One of RWBY's biggest issues is cast bloat. There are too many people on screen at once, and I couldn't give a shit about 70% of them. I had this idea to make all the other teams they meet only be a part of the arc they're in, then when Team RWBY moves to another area, they meet another Huntsman team who are only relevant for that specific arc. Like Juniper, for example. They would be around for all of the school arc, but when Team RWBY moves on, Juniper is left along with that previous arc. This is all just a long-winded way of saying, you can kill Pyrrha or not, I really don't care, since after this, the entirety of Juniper will be written out of the story. Meanwhile, Sienna is out killing the king. Of course, with a little help from Cinder, Sienna kills the king and takes the throne for herself with Adam by her side. Mistral has been taken back by the Faunus and their old home has been returned to them. Though she doesn't make it a Faunus ethno-state like you would originally think. Humans and Faunus will coexist in Mistral now, and hopefully this will encourage other kingdoms to do the same. Spoilers, it doesn't. One last Adam scene I want to bring up for this arc is between him and Torchwick. Hot take, I don't really mind Roman's death in Volume 3. I thought it was perfectly fitting for this dude to make a grandiose speech about surviving, then go out with a whimper. This time, though, after the airship crashes, Adam finds Roman barely clinging on to dear life. He lights up one last smoke for him because I really like that trope. Then Torchwick gives him his lighter and asks him to give it to Neo. Adam agrees, then proceeds to mercy kill Roman to put him out of his misery. As he leaves, we see her watching from a distance, unaware of the context behind it. Neo just witnessed Adam kill Torchwick, and so now Neo has a new target to set her sights on. You know, I actually liked that Adam never appeared in Volume 4. Instead of Adam himself, we see how his actions affect our characters without him even being present, and I want to do the same thing here. So instead, let's look at Blake and Weiss and what they would be doing during this period. Weiss returns to Atlas, completely crestfallen and loses all will to continue fighting. Her fight with Adam and Mistral has left her with PTSD since, Yang wasn't doing anything with it. Weiss thought she could get some use from it. Yang's first dream of Adam was such a cool scene, and it's a shame we didn't get any more like it. When it comes to Weiss's PTSD, I wanted to completely skew her perception of Adam from a powerful enemy to some sort of demon that haunts her every waking moment. She would see visions of Adam when her PTSD triggers, but instead of just seeing Adam, she sees something darker. All she sees is a completely black figure with the red parts of Adam glowing. It's not Adam chasing her, it's a nightmare. General Ironwood would be here, and you know what I want? I like the idea of Ironwood being a father figure to Weiss and Winter. That paternal love that Jacques never gave them instead comes from the Tin Man, who does indeed have a heart. He tries to comfort Weiss and get her back on her feet, but there's really only one person who can help Weiss now. During her time in the manor, we get a scene between Weiss and Willow. Willow doesn't fully know what happened to her, only she got banged up pretty bad in Mistral. Weiss briefly talks about it and mentions Adam, which causes Willow to go pale. She doesn't explain why, but she storms off for reasons, and Weiss doesn't understand why. Willow never expected Adam to make good on his promise and thought Weiss would be safe inside the kingdoms at least. Now she needs to take precautions in order to keep Adam away. Spoilers, they don't work. Have I mentioned just how much I despise the menagerie arc? Blake's whole thing was how she ran from everything, and when faced against Adam, tells him she won't run anymore, only for her to run off again. Not anymore. This time, Blake takes her lesson to heart, so instead of running away, decides to pursue Weiss and travel to Atlas because she knows for a fact that Adam isn't done trying to kill her. She feels responsible for getting Weiss mixed up in all of this, even though Adam would have gone for her with or without Blake's involvement. The majority of this arc would have Blake in Mantle trying to find a way into Atlas by using her old knowledge from living here to make contact with various underground organizations to make deals in order to find a way to Weiss. There's also the matter of RWBY and Yang. Since the show is called RWBY, they do need to at least have some relevance here. General Ironwood has tasked them with the mission of setting out on foot to Vacuo in order to enlist their aid against Sienna and the White Fang. Now, I don't want them spending the entire arc here because Vacuo is so far away from where the rest of the plot is happening, and I don't want them pissing about in Vacuo for an entire arc. It would give us a chance to see how the Faunus are treated here, since that was something the show always sucked major donkey balls at. Afterwards, their plan is to head to Argus, where they'll be picked up to go to Atlas to prepare for their counterattack. There, those are the two out of the way. Let's get back to the good stuff. The volume would end with a party taking place on the Shnee's private airship. The reason for this could be the same as the one from Volume 4, where Weiss summoned a pig. Blake made her way into Atlas and onto this airship under the guise as one of the servants. Weiss is also here mingling and whatnot. It may be cheesy, but I really like the idea of Weiss still holding onto Blake's ribbon she gave her, and she finds some way to incorporate it into her outfit, whether it's a hair tie or a bow or something. We can include Sun in all of this if you really wanted to. It wouldn't really change anything so long as you don't hint at any relationship with Blake, since it's already been established she's shacking up with Weiss. Things don't stay hunky-dory for long because the White Fang have begun to assault the airship everyone is on because most of the Shnees, excluding Willow probably, are on the ship and they can take them all out in one fell swoop. Weiss, being traumatized from the events in Mistral, causes her to be petrified in fear, unable to do anything. This is when Blake would step in and come to her rescue. Our duo don't actually find out until they're right about to leave, but our good boy Adam is here as well, leading the attack. The scene ends with the two getting on a smaller ship and heading off to Argus, because during the party, Ironwood let it slip to Weiss about RWBY and Yang's mission, so were she to ever leave in the near future, she knows where to find her friends. Our girls have finally reunited, and unlike a certain blonde bitch, isn't upset that Blake has come back. In fact, she couldn't be more ecstatic since Blake came all the way from Mistral to come save her. And that's how this little arc would conclude. What would be considered Volume 5 begins back on the ship Adam and the White Fang are attacking, where Adam is now locked in combat with Winter. Sienna, the scheming manipulator she is, convinced Adam that Winter is just as bad as the rest of the Shnees, that she didn't try to stop them when he and his father were taken away to the mines. After a couple days, Winter just stopped caring and got a new friend to play with. Of course, us as the viewer would know none of this is true, but Adam fully buys into it and believes that his old friend betrayed him just like everyone else. Winter tries her best to get through to Adam, and just for the briefest of moments causes him to hesitate, which gives Winter just enough time to escape. Had she continued to fight him, she would have gotten dumpstered by Adam. Our two girls arrive in Argus, mostly unscathed, but unfortunately, Ruby and Ying haven't arrived yet. They're still off doing something or other. I don't know, their story isn't really relevant here. While they wait, they may as well try and get Weiss back into fighting shape, but we all know that's easier said than done. Unlike Ying, Weiss needs the time to get over her fear and move on, so she won't be fighting much this volume. One night, however, while taking a walk through Argus, Blake is once again ambushed by Adam, but not to attack her, but to talk. Adam wants to know why she's gotten involved with this Shnee of all people. She knows what they did to Adam and what they've done to their people. Blake tries to reason with him and tell him that not all the Shnees are bad, but he isn't having any of it. He removes his mask and asks her to look him in the eyes and say it again, that not all Shnees are evil. Weiss will show her true colors one day, just like Jacques, just like Willow, just like him. Blake has had enough, but before she leaves, Adam warns her that Sienna is planning to assault Atlas itself, which sounds like suicide at first, but they got Adam, who's absurdly overpowered as he should have been, so at the very least, an assault on Atlas is possible? Both are done talking here and head off in their own direction, except Adam leaves his mask on the ground before leaving. For some reason or another, he doesn't want it anymore. Multiple training montages later, and Weiss can fight if we're using it in a very loose sense. However, she still isn't capable of taking on Adam. Even if she were to get help from the rest of Team RWBY, they still might not stand a chance, so Weiss needs to even the playing field. Weiss comments on how she won't be able to hold her own against Adam's semblance, in which Blake decides to mention the fact that Moonslice isn't Adam's semblance. Now, you're probably wondering why throughout all of this, Blake never mentions the fact that Adam is Weiss's brother. It's incredibly stupid, but my decision was Blake still respects Adam despite their opposition, and it isn't her secret to tell. Weiss is scared shitless to find out that Adam has been holding back this whole time by not using his semblance, but the question remains, what is the power he's been using then? It's then Ying finally decides to make herself useful and mentions how she's heard of a mysterious destructive power from the Bronwyn tribe, which she learned from investigating her mother, which was happening the whole time. It just wasn't relevant enough for me to mention until now. She also makes note of his mask, which looks familiar to Raven's, which she saw in an old picture of Team Stark. So our crew sets out to find the Bronwyn tribe, and who better to help than our old Uncle Crow? By now, he's been here and there throughout the series, but wasn't accompanying them full-time like in RWBY proper. Because Crow is one of them, he's literally able to take them right to the tribe with no trouble. They get an audience with Raven, and this would be a perfect time for Ying's story to develop. It's just a shame that's not the topic of today's video. If Moonslice really isn't Adam's semblance and is something that can be learned, Weiss wants to learn it as well to level the playing field with Adam. The whole reason I went with this is because I imagined a dope fight scene in my head where the two are going at it with Moonslice and Adam is glowing black and red while Weiss is black and white, and it sounded really cool, so that's just my justification for this plotline. Of course, at the start, Raven tells them to piss off. The last guy she taught Moonslice to turned into a terrorist with power far exceeding their own. If Weiss wants it, she needs to prove that this won't be another Adam incident and her intentions are more pure than his. Granted, Adam did have good intentions at the start, but they didn't last long. Weiss makes it clear that this power she seeks will be used for one purpose only, to defeat Adam Taurus. Fast forward later to when she does prove herself because I couldn't be bothered to write it all out. Weiss learns the power of Moonslice, and with it, a new blade to wield the power. She still has Myrdenaster, but it would shatter into a million pieces if she used Moonslice with it. I kind of want to be really corny here and name the new sword Monochrome because I think that would be cool. With a new ace up their sleeve, the gang returns to Atlas. Because a war doesn't happen overnight, they still need to prepare. Unfortunately for them, and all of Atlas really, Queen Sienna and the forces of Mistral have launched an all-out attack on Atlas. Sienna was confident at first because she had Adam. His power made him a one-man army, but for some reason, Adam has gone off the radar, and she hasn't been able to get a hold of him since he was last in Argus, which poses a huge problem for her, but Cinder comes through at the last minute and lowers Atlas's shields, courtesy of a certain tech-savvy ally of hers. Team RWBY during the assault are at Shnee Manor, where refugees are all congregating, since I would assume that Shnee Manor is the safest place in Atlas. However, the worst thing that could have happened to them happened, and the four are snuck up on by Adam. This time, Adam is rocking his blindfold look again. He's decided to hell with saving the faunus. He just wants the Schnees dead. Instead of a 4v1 like you might think, Weiss isn't over her fear of him just yet, so the rest of the team has her sit it out while they fight on her behalf. They put up a decent enough fight, about as much as they could have given to a dude who disintegrated a tank with a single flick of his sword. Ultimately though, the three are defeated, and Weiss, overcome with fear, decides to make a run for it instead of standing her ground. She runs as much as she can, and when she finally thinks she's alone, she hears Adam's voice behind her. In that moment, all Weiss can see is herself back in Mistral facing down this demon who destroyed her. Adam slowly approaches behind her, removing his blindfold in the process. In a last-ditch effort, Weiss quickly swivels around to get a swing in, but right as it's about to connect, she stops. All she sees before her is a man whose face she doesn't recognize, but has the same eyes as her. Were this a proper show, we would get the lore from earlier here, and it does seem like a long time to get the reveal, but you could probably condense this down into less seasons if it were paced more like a traditional anime with 12-24-minute episodes per season, but I can't be bothered to figure out how to structure that, so we're going with regular RWBY pacing. Weiss has gone from total fear to utter confusion. How does she have an older brother? Why has no one told her about this? Who is Adam? He doesn't bother explaining anything to her. He doesn't need to. It wouldn't change anything. He stares Weiss down, but not out of anger or contempt or anything like that. In fact, he looks tired. Tired of the fighting. Tired of the hate. He just looks so done with everything. But he isn't stopping now. The Schnees need to die, for everyone's sake. They finally begin their fight. Weiss is still scared, and because of this remains on the defensive for the beginning of the fight. Adam's fight with the rest of RWBY has slightly softened him up for her, and yeah, it's a stretch considering how much I've built Adam's strength up, but if you've got a better idea, I'm all ears. Weiss uses her new sword and whips out Moonslice as well in order to keep herself on even footing. This whole time, I wanted Adam to refrain from using his semblance, as he feels nothing but shame for even having it. However, during this final fight, in a moment of desperation, he finally uses the Schnee glyphs in order to take down Weiss. The two in their destructive power is tearing apart the Schnee manor in the process, which is no bueno for the citizens hiding out here, so now they gotta haul ass away from these two. After a long conflict, the two are tired and are struggling to keep fighting, but Adam isn't quitting until one of them is dead. One way or another, a Schnee is dying tonight. But Weiss sees things differently. When she looks into his eyes, she doesn't see the demon that haunted her nightmares. She instead sees a boy, broken and haunted by his past. She can see the loneliness in his eyes, the same look she had before she met Team RWBY. Weiss, in the very end, defeats Adam. But she won't kill him. Adam is family. She won't abandon him like their mother, and refuses to let him be alone anymore. She takes Wilton Blush from him and tells him to go. She won't turn him in, as she believes Adam can redeem his actions and become a better man. Adam is confused by everything going on, but ultimately does what she says and leaves the manor. The two know they will see each other again, and next time it will be on better terms. So what's going on with Sienna and shit? Cinder, realizing that this attack on Atlas is a lost cause, decides to cut ties and get rid of anything that can be traced back to her, so she opts to kill Sienna while her back is turned and disappear like she was never even here. I'm sure the idea of Adam redeeming himself then going against Sienna sounds interesting, but I want Adam to remember Sienna as someone who saved him, even if she was kind of a POS at the same time. Also, her death will become his motivation later. The White Fang failed in their attack against Atlas and are left broken and scattered. Weiss returns to Team RWBY, who have recovered by now, and when asked what happened with Adam, Weiss just says he got away and leaves it at that. Adam has left, questioning everything about his life and his goals up till now, and he feels like he can't just return to the White Fang and act like nothing ever happened, which is unfortunate for them because with Sienna now dead, the White Fang were really hoping that Adam would take up leadership, especially since he was way more loved than Sienna. Adam returns to the continent Vale and Vacuole are on. I forgot its name. Before he left, Adam went searching for Sienna, and right before she died, explains to Adam about Cinder and uses her final breath to warn him about her. While wandering from village to village, trying to figure out where to go from here, Adam is attacked by a mysterious figure who reveals himself to be none other than the bestest girl of all time, Neo. Neo, by this point, thinks Adam killed Torchwick out of cold blood and decides to take revenge on him. Like Cinder from RWBY proper, only this time I have just enough intelligence to not give this story a dipshit ending. Neo uses the same tactic to get her point across by using Torchwick's hat to convey why she's here, and it's in this moment Adam has a realization. It was Cinder who pushed Sienna to attack Mistral and Atlas. It was Cinder who killed Sienna, and it was Cinder who forced Roman and Neo to work with them. Everything was orchestrated by Cinder. If she didn't force Roman to work with them, he may have never died. If Sienna never got involved with the White Fang, Sienna may have never died. Upon this realization, Adam tries to explain everything to Neo, including how he killed Torchwick out of mercy, including bringing out his lighter he still had on him to give to Neo. Because Neo isn't fucking stupid, she understands everything Adam is trying to say. These two characters were just pawns in Cinder's game, and if the both of them want revenge for the death of their friends, then teaming up against Cinder seems like the best choice. Of course, Neo and Adam are strong, but he doesn't want to underestimate Cinder and get his ass kicked, so he and Neo decides to seek out Team RWBY and ask for their assistance, unaware that they too are already searching for Cinder. While I will admit it is a cute ship, Adam and Neo's relationship isn't and won't be a romantic kind. They're just homies who lost someone close to them and are seeking a common enemy, though I imagine the two becoming the best of buds as time goes on. After his home was destroyed, Adam had no problem with killing his enemies, but now he tries his best not to kill anyone unless absolutely necessary, and convinces Neo to do the same, who begrudgingly agrees. Adam may not have Wilton blush at the moment, so I imagine until he gets it back, he's just using like a generic katana or something. I know Wilton blush isn't a katana, but in anime, katanas are ironically the most durable thing in the world, so there you go. During their travels, Adam opens up to Neo about his past and even shows her his shiny eyes. He finds comfort in speaking with her. It's like when you find someone you can talk to very easily, but also are able to have moments of comfortable silence with them without things being awkward. That's how I imagine Adam is with Neo. I would do the same with Neo, but you know. After a long period of journeying, the two track down Team RWBY and, understandably, are attacked by all of them but Weiss when they first arrive, and it's Weiss who has to step in and stop their fighting. Weiss is willing to put her trust in Adam, who she believes has changed for the better. Adam explains why they're here, and because unlike the actual show, Team RWBY aren't fucking stupid, so they decide to take Adam and Neo up on their offer. And now our new 6-man team for the foreseeable future has formed. In order to keep caste bloat from happening again, until Cinder is defeated, these 6 will be our main characters, and only these 6. There will be side characters, of course, like Crow and Ironwood, but none will be joining these 6 on their journey to defeat the big bad. Blake is happy to see her old mentor return to his roots, and Adam apologizes to both Blake and Weiss for the horrible things he's done to the both of them. One design change I want to make to Adam when he joins RWBY is his logo. He's got the baller-ass logo of the rose with the white symbol behind it. When he joins the girls, I think it would be really cool to change the white part of the symbol to the Schnee logo, showing that Adam is embracing his Schnee blood instead of shaming himself for it. Weiss, of course, returns Wilton Blush to him, and now our team sets off to defeat Cinder. Hey, listen, I'm not writing out their entire journey to killing Cinder. This is an Adam rewrite, and while he is now important to the story, that doesn't mean I'm going to cover every detail. Instead, there was a story idea I had, but wasn't sure if I wanted to commit to it, so I'll just throw it at you and let you decide if it's a good idea or not. Remember how I said during the kingdom part how Atlas was like an empire while the rest were kingdoms? My original idea was to make the Schnees the royal family to Atlas and its empire because, in my honest opinion, the heiress to a company sounds boring as hell and way less interesting. That would make Weiss next in line to Empress after her father steps down. After the team beats Cinder, Weiss has a one-on-one with Adam. Being the Empress is all fine and well, but were she to become the Empress, she wouldn't be able to be with Blake because, heirs and all that. Winter can't be since she joined the military and lost her claim, and Whitley is still too young. So Weiss instead offers the mantle of Emperor to Adam. It sounds absurd at first. A Faunus as Emperor? Who would accept that? Besides, the world knows who Adam is. They know he was once a terrorist, and the people wouldn't be chill with this at all. Though he is still a Schnee by blood, which does give him birthright to the throne, even if he is a bastard. That, combined with Weiss and Winter's support of him, may just be enough for him to become the next ruler of Atlas. And if he were to become emperor, he could do a lot to change the way Faunus are treated. Also, Adam is still insanely powerful, so people might just do what he says out of fear, if nothing else, even if he's not trying to be scary. Also, even when they beat Cinder, Neo decides to stick with Adam for the foreseeable future, and I'd like to imagine Neo taking up an honest living working with Adam when he becomes Emperor. Once again, just an idea I had as a way to end Adam's story, though I think it is a neat idea. That's it for my rewrite. Not super detailed, but as stated, this is just an outline of a potential story and not an actual fanfic or AU. If you have big PP, you should like and subscribe. And now, I'm gonna go. I gotta get back to reading. There's no freaking way I'll be your lover. Unless?